I'm with CHES, Christian Home Education Support Service. A lot of our members come and say, how do I find others? So obviously, you know, there is a big question at whatever point you come to it, you know, how you find that connection. And obviously what you've done, it's come out of that desire, hasn't it? Learn together. And then, so I don't know where Ian quite fits in. I'm sorry, Ian, I haven't caught up with any of your sessions or anything so far. So yeah, I don't know.
No, I mean, we were online and I was just thinking of, you know, it's kind of nice to share things dependent, and obviously we might have a lockdown, so a kind of notion of how you maintain a community whilst online.
Right.
I mean,
Okay, let's talk, we can talk about that. Okay. So what we found really important is making time for social stuff, because the children...
Sorry, can I just stop you there? I think we need to have a point at which we can stop the recording to start again.
Okay.
Just because it obviously all this will have to be chopped off, won't it? So I wonder if, Dore, do you want to actually come on as well and be spotlighted and just start it off as a panel where we kind of maybe introduce ourselves and then just see where it goes?
We've just had somebody else join.
Now we've got
with our panel. It's good. Let me just stop the recording. I just don't want to forget to start it again, Ruth. You need to.
If you just stop it now and start it straight away, and then we've got a fresh recording.
Go.
Okay, welcome everybody. We've got a slight change of plan this morning. We're just going to make this into kind of a more of an open panel discussion because yeah, just things have changed slightly. So what I'm going to do is to just kind of spotlight one or two more people, including myself, which I really don't want to do, but I will do when I can find the buttons. But just welcome everybody. We're going to be just exploring just this idea of community, which is where Zoe and Anil have kind of come. It's all come out of their learning community, and yeah, just kind of discuss that from our different perspectives and just hopefully get some encouragement and yeah, just see what happens with that. So I finally found the button to say hi and be visible. And then, yeah, so welcome. We've got Danielle has joined us. Welcome, Danielle.
Hello, Danielle.
Good to see you. And do you want to, as Dore's husband, I'm sorry, I don't know your name. Would you like to just introduce yourself as well? I'll just add your...
Sure. I'm Dore's husband. My name's Ivan. Been homeschooling for a while, so but also actually teach students at Coventry University, so startups.
Oh.
Right.
Great.
What do you teach?
Business, pretty much. So I'm a business coach by profession. It's what I do. It's how I earn my money, and I do a little bit of giving back at the university to help startups get started, really. So, and I run the technology incubator as well.
Oh, nice.
Wow, that's great.
That's cool. So actually, should we start with a check-in, which is one of the tools that we find really helpful in just making community that's meaningful online. We have space for check-in twice a day in our normal learning day. And it can be all different types of check-ins. It can be what's new, what have you got to share with the community? Have you got a joke you want to share? Yeah. Or it could be deeper stuff, you know, what's been challenging for you this last week since we last met? What successes have you had? What have you had for breakfast? You know, you can take the check-in to loads of different levels. Yeah. Let's see, what do we feel? What kind of check-in do we feel like? Should we go for it? Should we go for deeper meaningful?
Let's go for deeper.
Let's do it. Okay.
Let's go for what we think is essential. Just in a few words, what we think is essential for community, for creating community.
Okay. Sense of belonging. You need to feel that you're actually belonging and that you're valued. Yeah.
Do you want to introduce yourself as well?
Oh, sorry, yeah. Yeah, I'm Ruth. I'm just helping to run the conference a little bit this week, but my main work is with CHES. That's Christian Home Education Support Service. So we kind of help Christian families to connect with each other and support them in a variety of ways. We have a great holiday that we run, and we do produce a magazine that encourages them and various different things. We run our own conference as well. So yeah, that's me.
Awesome.
I also have 7 children that are home educated, 3 of whom are in university. So it feels like quite an achievement, but Yeah, but we're still very much on the treadmill as well. Well, not treadmill, it's great, but you know what I mean. We've got 2 younger ones and 2 that are navigating exams. So yeah.
Where are you, Ruth?
We're in Bradford, so not too far away from you.
Yeah, exactly. I could
West
detect
Yorkshire.
the Yorkshire accent there. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, sorry about that, everybody.
What do you mean?
Okay.
Something to be proud of.
Okay, I'll go next because I feel that what's important in community is showing up whole. So bringing the whole of you, so your accent and your difficulties and your things that you love, and so not kind of showing up with your teacher face on, or with your cool student face, or your, you know, any of that. Just and check-ins are helpful for that, because you can go, okay, yeah, this week I've been struggling with the rain and it's made me really miserable, and I've been feeling kind of so yeah, so for me, a really important part of community is just bringing the whole of you to the meeting.
Right.
Cool.
Okay. So I'm Anil, and well, just to put this into context, is, you know, we started up Hebden Bridge Learning Community 5 years, well, nearly 6 years ago. Hebden Bridge is in West Yorkshire, between kind of Liverpool, Manchester and Leeds in the Pennines. And then we started up last year in September an online learning community called the Learning Circle, and which is kind of based on what we do in Hebden with a few adaptations. And it's kind of taken off on a life of its own as well. And as these wonderful democratic initiatives tend to do. And for me, what's important about community is friendship, and creating the kind of a space and processes and activity and a kind of atmosphere where friendship can blossom in a, you know, in a beautiful way. You know, and I mean, for me, just personally speaking, you know, friendship develops by doing beautiful things together or meaningful things together. And, you know, for me, friendship is not just having a cup of tea with somebody and having a gossip, although that can be really nice. But it's, you know, it's something more than that. And it's something that we try in our learning communities to, you know, how do we create community by doing meaningful things together that help to create friendship.
Great. Who wants to go next?
It must be Ian's turn, I think.
Yeah, fine. So I was originally a Mancunian, so I on the other side of the Pennines, and I think Danielle is Liverpool, so with the Lancastrians here. Though my father's side was Yorkshire. But I'm now on the Sussex coast with Sunrise Learning College. And our idea of a learning community, I suppose, is freedom for people to learn whatever they want in any way they want, but with support, so that the difference between a learning community and a school is schools have curriculum and teaching and classrooms and stuff, and we don't. So it allows, you know, people to be free, but also in a context where they are supported in a caring community.
Ian. Danielle, do you want to check in?
Hi, Danielle, as you can see, from Liverpool, completely new to home education, started in September. Yeah, I've got 5 children, 2 of them are adult children now. One, really strange, one is in school, one is home educated, and I've got a younger daughter who will be home educated. So it's a total conundrum. And I guess for me, I've jumped in as you have already started, so apologies for being late. But I think it's genuine connection of understanding and being accepted. I think it definitely goes back to that it's relationship, isn't it? I loved what you said, is it Zoe, about the bringing the whole of you. So it's not just with the good, what's working, what's great. It's feeling safe that you can share where it's not going so well. And yeah, look for that genuine support in that.
Can we just take that back to Zoe and Anil then? I mean, can you just kind of say how that works in your particular setup? You know, how do you kind of encourage that kind of real openness? Because some people, you know, we're not all, we don't wear our hearts on our sleeves, do we? It's a process. So would you like to just kind of pick up on that and say a little bit?
Okay, well, there are many aspects in which this can work, and you know, you have to take into account that some people are happy to communicate in a group of 15, 20 people, and others find that excruciating. So we have lots of different ways in which, you know, children and adults, because some of the adults, some of the staff don't feel that comfortable about speaking to big groups. So for example, we have our democratic meeting once a week. And in this democratic meeting, it is chaired by one of the children, and this is in, you know, both of our learning communities, and that's a place where the children can bring up issues, where we can discuss what we're going to learn together, because what we do is we study through topics, and those topics are proposed by the learning community. We discuss them, and then we decide on a topic to study for the whole term. And for the younger children, they do it for half a term. And so, but that's quite a process of listening, discussing, maybe making compromises, and all that, you know, is meaningful communication, because they care about what they're going to do together, and they care about the details of that, and this brings about the, you know, a kind of the fuel, so that you can have, you know, like I said, you know, kind of meaningful decision making going on. So that's one aspect. And then again, in those democratic meetings, speaking together as a big group might not work for everybody. So we'll split everybody up into little things like breakout rooms, where they'll go into groups of 3, 4, or even less, and they'll work together in those groups. And then they report back to the main group on, say, one of them is the scribe or the spokesperson, and reports back to the rest of us. And then we put a big emphasis on well-being in our learning communities. So, you know, we do yoga and meditation every morning. We begin our classes with a bell. Zoe's just brought the bell. Okay. And
so we use this at the beginning and the end of classes, and throughout classes, and before meditations and after meditations, things like that, so that everybody just gets to take a moment to come back to themselves. And that's just really lovely and important for everybody, because it's so easy to just get caught up in doing. That this really helps, especially the teachers as well as the children. Know you just take a moment to come back to yourself. How am I doing? How am I feeling? I'm just going to ring it, because it changes the atmosphere completely when we use this. Everything just stops. And quite a lot of the children have them at home, and anybody can ring the bell whenever they want. And it's just really great to just, you know, just to have that moment and come back to your breath. And so we do a lot around meditations around feelings and the body, and getting in touch with yourself. And they're really short, and, you know, they're designed for children. They're often just 5 minutes long. But it's very different. We do the check-in, for example, after we've done all that. So you often find that you're ready to share something quite different after doing a bit of yoga and a meditation than after, I don't know, eating your cornflakes and playing on your mum's phone. It's, you know, you're in a different space. So we use a lot of that in our learning spaces, in our teacher meetings, things like that. Another practice from mindfulness that we use is called watering the flowers, and we just take we take time to appreciate each other, and we do this with the children and with the teachers. So just going around and spending a few minutes letting everybody know individually what it is that you appreciate about them. And then something really opens for the children, and they feel really safe, you know, and appreciated and able to share.
Yeah, that's important. They get that sense of belonging, don't they? If that kind of, they've got
Yeah.
the space to actually find out how they connect.
Yeah,
they
and if someone, if you have people telling you what it is that they appreciate about you, you feel really seen, you feel really heard, you feel yeah, and that creates belonging. Hello, Lisa.
Yeah, because everybody wants to be in a community where they are appreciated and they can appreciate. Everybody wants that. Okay, I think you'd have to, if you don't want that, that's a bit strange. And so, you know, just creating a space where that is possible makes a huge difference for everybody. And it's interesting how, for example, some children find it very difficult to say something positive about somebody else, right? And they find it difficult to listen to themselves being appreciated. And so it's important to, you know, start to open that, how can I put it, to create more openness towards that, you know. Even some of our staff have difficulty with it, you know. So all of those things that we talk about here is not just for the children, it's for all of us. And, you know, because we also feel that, you know, anything that we do with the children, we should be doing ourselves. Never ask children to do something you're not doing yourself. It never works. And they see your hypocrisy as well. I think all of us as home educators are aware of that. And they don't look at what you say, they look at what you do. You know, do you back up your words? And so, you know, as educators, we need to back up our words as we do as parents. We need to show what we're show, don't tell, to borrow a cinematic term. But yeah, I think there's lots of ways, you know, in which this kind of works, but it's basically, if we just kind of in a few words to describe it, is that the kind of elephant in the room in educational settings is the child's inner world. Normally, that is never addressed, it's never accepted, it's never spoken to, and it's not allowed to speak up either. Okay, and so what we're saying is, you know, if you want to develop yourself as a person, well, let's look at all this massive complexity that each individual is, and appreciate it and embrace it, you know, because this is what we're bringing to the mix, and this is what, you know, this is what education should be about. It should be about being happy in yourself and about being and creating happiness with other people. Yeah? You know, and if it's just about jobs and all that kind of stuff, and it ignores well-being, well, what kind of world are we creating? So sorry, I'll just go a bit. But
that's all right. I'm just interested in the, you know, obviously each of us learns in our own unique way, and there are certain kind of recognized learning styles, aren't there? Some are more kind of tactile, some are very visual, some are very auditory, and so on. So I'm just kind of wondering how at the Learning Circle, or if anybody else has got anything to chip in there, you know, how do you actually, in a group setting, kind of cater to the individuals in that way? Because obviously you have your times where you're all together. How do you ensure that everybody's catered for in that kind of way, in terms of it within community? Yeah, does that make sense?
Can I answer that?
Well, I'll answer that. So we don't, to be honest, we don't worry too much about that kind of individual learning styles that they do in schools, because the children have so much freedom to do things in the way that they want to do them, that they decide. So we get differentiation through outcome, not by, you know, so much by what we do with the children. Although, you know, having said that, we do also, you know, we recognize that children learn in different ways. And so we'll have, for example, when they do a science class, they may have like 4 different practices that they do, rotating around the classroom. And so they'll have things that stimulate more to their, you know, for the readers and the listeners and the visual learners, etc. So we do some of that in our planning, but most of it comes through allowing the child to self-direct their way through what we're doing. So, for example, in an art class, if a child wants to do some painting that's been proposed by the teacher, fine. If they prefer to work with clay, that's fine as well. If they want to do something on their iPad as a digital piece of art, they can do that as well, you know. Or if they want to take it into dance, that's okay too, you know. So they can find we don't, in fact, our art classes, we call them creative expression, because we want to empower, or at least allow the children to empower themselves to find their own way. So what works for them.
So freedom is a
Yeah.
real big thing, isn't it, for a child to be able to kind of hook in their own way to what's going on.
Also, each child chooses a mentor, and then they have time regularly one-to-one with the mentor to to check in with how they're doing, and if are all their needs actually being met. And the teachers are always available as well, after a class to talk and things like that.
Ian, how does it work at your place with different learning styles?
Well, we've done quite a bit of research on the different ways that people can learn, and we found at least 57 different ways that young people can learn. And so we don't have any teachers, so because we don't have any classes. So but what we call learning advisors, their role is very much often to work with students in terms of the different ways that not just what they want, how they want to learn, but what they want to learn. So it depends a lot on the individual. So there is complete freedom for people to learn in any way they want. For instance, some people might suggest let's have a workshop, and those people interested in that way of learning will go to it. But those people say, well, I just want to do stuff on my own. For instance, more autistic kids that we work with would often want to be maybe working more on their own at times, and then collaborating at other times. So it usually varies. People can learn just whatever they want in any way they want. So it's kind of simple, really. So we don't bother about learning styles or asking people what way they like to learn. They know what they like, and they can choose to. And if they try something and it doesn't work, we go, well, it doesn't matter. You've learned something. There's no such thing as failure, only feedback. You've just tried something, didn't work. That's some feedback for you. Then maybe you want to do something different.
Great. I think we should talk a bit more about making decisions together, and how that is really important for bringing community together, because community comes out of doing things together, doesn't it? Whether that's online or in person or anything like that. So any community has lots of decisions to make at any time. At the moment, we need to recruit some new teachers. Okay, so how that will work is people will apply to work with us, and then we will have just an initial chat with them to make sure they're kind of in the right ballpark. And then we will ask them to do a class with the children. And so the children will experience what their teaching style is like. And then at the end of the class, the children interview the teachers. And then once the teachers have gone, we get together and we go, right, how's that gone? What do we think? And we make those decisions together. And so there's a huge amount of ownership, actually, for the whole community. The community feels really owned by everybody, and everybody feels very involved in decision making because they are. At a kind of organizational level, we use a lot of self-management and holacracy tools and things like that, and they're really interesting, but maybe this isn't the place to go into that. But that's if anybody's thinking of setting up an organization along these lines, I really recommend a book called Reinventing Organizations by Frederic Laloux, which is just very exciting, and looking at how to get rid of hierarchy in organizations and let people make meaningful decisions. The people make the decisions the people who make the decisions are those that have to live with them, basically, and how to set that up in an organization. It's fantastic.
Sorry to interrupt. Just with the last session, I found it interesting because somebody asked about your fee structure, the cost and all that, and whether that's also a democratic decision. And I thought the point you made there was very, very valid, and people don't necessarily always think about, putting a child in a position of making a decision, but maybe sometimes children get put into positions where they have to make decisions on things that have much bigger consequences than what they can necessarily cope with.
Yeah,
You know, so we have to be wise in what kind of things we have children make decisions in. And
Yeah.
I thought that was a very valid point. I really like that.
Yeah, so we try and have the people making decisions are the ones that have to live with them. So the teachers together, we discuss what to do with the income that we have and how best to divide it up, because yeah, we have to pay our mortgages and our bills.
No, because for example, with the decision making comes with responsibility. So I know that, for example, in Sudbury schools, children may decide on what the teachers are going to earn, you know, and how much of the budget goes to this, that, and the other. But, you know, are the children going to be responsible if the school doesn't have enough money in its coffers? You know, I think that's unfair to ask the children to take that responsibility on. Right, I really do. And so, you know, the responsibility has to be there if you are taking on those decisions.
And the children are very aware of that. When we first started in Hebden Bridge, we wanted to copy some other democratic schools where if you have a new child join, the children in the community together decide if that child can join or not. That was our plan. That was what we were going to do. We thought, oh, this is how we do things. And our children went, no, we don't want that. We'd feel awful. We really do not want that weight on our shoulders. Thank you very much. Yeah. And so they handed that over to the teachers, and they're happy with that. And
what they said was actually, they said, we're happy to be consulted, but we don't want to be taking the final decision. Okay, so that's what we do. I mean, so how does it work at your place, Ian? How do people kind of become members of the self-managed learning college? Self-managed learning college.
Oh, yeah. So our coordinator would meet with the family.
Yeah.
To check out, you know, because the only two criteria we have for people joining is, do they want to be with us, and are they likely to benefit from being with us? We have no interest in academic issues or anything like that. We're not selecting people on that basis. And then the individual has a trial week, so they spend a week in the community. And at the end of the week, there is a community meeting, which is, and the students do have a say. It's a joint decision within the learning community with adults and young people. And obviously from some of the young people, they might say that person has just been too violent and difficult, and it would be, they need other kind of help. It's interesting that we've got one student with us who did do a trial week, and they were kind of bullying and quite obnoxious to people. And so the students were saying that, we'd like to give people a chance, but maybe not. And then the person came back, I think 9 months later, and did another week, and it was fine. And the individual, I know because I was talking with him, she came as a she, but now he's a he. He said, well, I was a pain in the backside, and it would have been stupid for me to join you because I needed some time to kind of chill out from my experiences in life and join the community when it was right for me, and it was the right decision. Because the students were just saying, oh, we just can't cope with this person. Whereas now it's fine. They have their own quirks, but everybody's saying great. After their second trial week, they were fine.
Great, thanks, Ian. Another thing we could talk about is actually meeting up in person, which is also really important and really exciting when you've made friends online, and then you actually get to meet up with them in real life. That's really, really exciting. So normally every summer we do an international summer camp for children from democratic schools all around the world. We started a few years ago in Yorkshire, and then the following year we did it near to Barcelona. Last year it was going to be in the Netherlands, but it got cancelled because of COVID. This year we're not doing one, but next year we will, and it'll probably be in the south of France. And the idea is that children aged 12 plus come together for a week and they create a community. We normally have around 30 children, something like that.
Well,
25,
including adults. The last one was about 30 with the adults.
So only 3 adults, because the adults are just there as a support. we start the day every day with a meeting to decide how, you know, what's going to happen and how things are going to work. But the children decide the agreements around behaviour. They buy the food, they cook, they plan the excursions, they plan the whole week, and that's a really, really lovely thing to do. They really enjoy it. They get very excited about meeting up.
And it's international. So we've had
Yeah.
children from, we had a couple of children from your place, Ian.
Yeah, we did.
Who've been come to us. Leah, is it Leah? Leah.
You probably should say names.
Sorry, okay, that's all right. And anyway, we had children from Israel, from Germany, France, Spain, about 5 different nationalities, and which is fantastic because a lot of these children they were either home educated or went to democratic settings. And so, you know, often children from this kind of background, they see the children in their learning community, but they don't often get to meet people from outside because they're a bit isolated. So it was wonderful to bring them all together, and you know, they could see who they got on better with and what they had in common and all this kind of stuff. It was great. It was wonderful. It was like a federation of individuals. It was fantastic. Huh? So these 25 kids, very confident in who they were. And of course, the most important thing for them is friendship. You know, they're coming to make friends, and they make very strong friendships that they continued. And that's why the first camp we did, we had 18, and something like 14 of them repeated for the next camp. And then the camp we were going to do last year, we would have had another, 20 repeating, but we had to cancel it. So let's see. But it's something that, it's a great thing to do.
And for younger children, we do a non-residential summer school camp thing on a farm near to Hebden Bridge. So that's just over a week, but they just come during the day. And what we're finding there is the families who learn with us online, who are dotted around the country, the parents are in contact, and they're all arranging to stay together in Airbnb. So the families all get to meet, and some of them are going to stay on a campsite together. So yeah, these meetups are really, really important, and they generate a lot of excitement and lots of sort of spin-offs, lots of additional things organised by parents and students that just contribute to the community.
See, I mean, so there's so many aspects to this. I mean, for example, we also do one of our democratic meetings every 6 weeks is given over to a family circle, so parents can come. And parents can also suggest things to discuss or bring up issues, give feedback. And but one of the things that they can do is propose meetups, and they do. So we had some families meeting up on Wimbledon Common just before Christmas, and then we got another group of other parents who've established a group of parents to organise a meetup and things, and. So it's important to say that the families are part of the community as well. What we say is parents can make suggestions. They don't have any decision-making power because that's what the democratic meeting is for. But but parents come up with some fantastic suggestions and proposals, and it's really important. Their role is very important in all this.
If I just come in there, I just think that's really fantastic. The idea that you're not just finding community and finding where you belong is good, but to just widen that right out so that the international thing, I just think that is really powerful and just amazing, because very often we're inward looking and we're happy with our own little circle, but to totally turn our eyes out and just see actually we're part of a whole world. And there are others just like us everywhere. And I mean, the session that's happening this afternoon, there's home educators or people involved in home education from 12 different countries, I think. I mean, it's a beautiful thing that we're part of. It's a whole movement. And it's just great that you're hooking into that, even though your own community is very much rooted in, local. So I just think that is wonderful, and that's well done. Hats off to you for working that out.
Well, the Hebden Bridge community is local, but the online community is international. Yeah. We've got students from France, Spain, Kenya, Kuwait.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very international.
Yeah, and that's the wonder of modern technology, I guess, isn't it? 20 years ago, that would not have been possible.
Yeah,
just wouldn't have been
sure.
possible in the same way. So, you know, that's just something good about COVID, perhaps. It's just forced that kind of to come about, hasn't it?
Yeah.
So, yeah, positives. Okay, I wonder if you'd like to just go, just tell us a little bit. I mean, obviously, this session was about the Learning Circle, but would you like to just kind of tell us what that actually means in terms of what options, if anybody's watching and kind of thinking, you know, I'm hearing all this stuff, how do I get involved? You know, what levels of, how can you get involved? You know, tell us a bit more.
Okay, so we don't do drop-in classes because we want to create a community. There are lots of online drop-in classes that people can do, and we've been very clear that we don't want to do that. So if people would like to learn a bit more about our community, then they can come to an open day. We do those quite regularly online. And then the step after that is we do an informal interview where we really try to understand your child and how they like to learn and how they like to do things, and try and find what will be the best fit for them. And then we ask that children do a minimum of 1 day a week in the community, so that they're spending enough time there to make friendships, to develop relationship with the teachers, and you know, so that if you do a Wednesday, you turn up on a Wednesday and you know who's going to be there, which of your friends are going to be there, so that there's a sort of steadiness and stability to what we do.
Yeah, just to say that, you know, you can decide how many days a week you want to come.
Yeah.
So we have 5 days a week, and children can do 1, 2, 3, but they can also do half days as well.
Yeah, sure, but with a minimum of one full day spread out. And we ask that children do a tryout period of 2 to 4 weeks, and after that they decide if they want to join the community, and we see if it's a good fit for them, because we really feel that the children need to make that decision based on their experience of having been in our learning spaces and knowing how that works. Yeah, and that's it. So yeah, we offer 1 to 5 days a week of learning. We have a group for 7 to 10-year-olds, a group for, this is kind of flexible as well, a group for 11 to 14-year-olds. And from September, we're starting some GCSE groups. So we're going to be doing GCSE Maths, English and Science. That will be less democratic, because it is, because there's not, you know, you just have to follow the curriculum, but we'll make plenty of space for fun and chatting and social stuff, as well as actually doing the GCSEs.
We're also looking to bring in self-managed learning for children post 14.
Yeah.
And that's something that you know, has a lot more experience with. It's something which is much newer for us, but we find that there's a request from parents about this, or several requests from parents about this, for both of our settings, and it's something that we would like to offer, because not everybody wants to take the routes of GCSEs, although that can be part of self-managed learning too, and there are lots of other ways to access what you want to do with your life, you know, and a lot of things that children are interested in don't have formal qualifications. So we're looking to explore that from, well, actually we're preparing now, do research on it, and hopefully to start up in September.
Also from September, we're going to offer Crest Awards and Arts Awards, both of which are really interesting qualifications that fit very well around our topic-based learning. So they can just be adapted to whatever the children want to learn about. And that just helps them build a portfolio of their work for whatever they want to do afterwards. What else do we do? We have after school clubs, and these are proposed by the children. Some of them are run by the children. At the moment we have Minecraft Club, Chess Club, Lego Club, and there's the talks of a Dungeons and Dragons Club as well, but that's not happened yet. Yeah.
Okay, that's really good. I don't know if there's any questions. I've opened the chat up, so you know, if something comes to you, if anybody wants to kind of ask a little bit more. How can we find out about you? Presumably there's an exhibitors booth, isn't there, in this in the Hoover app?
Yeah, and you can just go to our website, which is thelearningscircle.co.uk.
Yeah, are you on Facebook and things as well?
Yeah, all that. Yeah.
So there's lots of different ways to connect with you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Does anybody else want to ask any questions, or shall we wrap it up there?
Well, we didn't hear from Lisa. Joined us during the session. So hello, Lisa.
Hi, I'm so sorry I was late.
It's all right.
No, I was just popping on because I couldn't get on the one the other day, just to kind of listen in and find out more about you. So my daughter is she's 11. We've recently deregistered about nearly 6 months ago now. So she's still in that kind of deschooling period where she was quite traumatized. So we're having to go through quite a lot of deschooling processes with her, and just really looking into, so at the moment I'm just looking into different options of things that we might want to try and introduce as you know, as she's ready really, and whether that's something that's face to face, or you're about 2 hours away from us, I think. Sure. In Hebden Bridge, but also just looking at that online community that you've started up as well. I just really like the ethos. I've looked, you know, a lot into like the Sudbury Schools model and lots of the different democratic learning models. So we're just exploring a lot of different things really, because I think that style is going to suit her better when the time is right. Maybe not just yet, but who knows? Great. You know, we're just letting her, we're being very child-led at the moment, letting her show us what type of learning style she likes and things like that, and what she wants to learn about. So just following her lead at the moment in terms of her education. So this sounds perfect in a way. What you set up sounds really perfect.
Cool. Thank you. Okay. Great. I'm trying to think, is there anything else we need to communicate to the world? Yeah, we're recruiting for teachers. So exciting teachers, get in touch with us, please. We're looking for people to start in September, and we've got a variety of positions open at the moment. Is there anything else?
Don't think so.
No? Okay. Thank you everybody for your time on a not sort of a rainy Friday. Lovely. Yeah.
That's great. Thank you very much for coming on again and helping us out here.
It's a pleasure. Good to see you all.
Yeah, I think this has been changing the format has been very helpful. I think much more interesting way of doing it. It's very interesting what you said the other day, Ian, in your talk on what was it, from talking about different forms of communication or learning communication through direction, discussion, and debating, and then dialogue. And this feels like a dialogue, okay, where we're all party to it. It's not just one person speaking. That's a kind of pedagogy that we totally want to move away from. We don't like our teachers just talking to the children, and the children. Nobody does that. We don't just talk to the kids, even for like 20 minutes. We don't do that kind of teacher-led communication. It doesn't work because it doesn't empower anybody doing that. And but often we find that teachers come in with their habitual energy of being the center of attention, and it takes a while to lose that.
Yeah. Well, our teachers always need deschooling, and that's a really interesting process for them to go through, especially if they come from mainstream, which they don't always be. But there's always some level of deschooling that's needed for everybody in the community. It's really interesting.
But I find, but this way of talking, where you're a group talking with each other, and it's a kind of free communication. I find personally, I learn a lot more from something like this than I do from. Might be the best speaker in the world, but you speak to me for 50 minutes. After about 20 minutes, I start to disengage because I can't. I'm not involved. It's not interactive enough for me. So thank you to everybody.
Yes. Thanks, and have a lovely weekend. And we'll see you next week again.
Thanks. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.